All right, awesome. Well, I'm going to walk you guys through real quick and we'll get this out. As you know, I'm sure people will be jumping on, but we're going to walk through this is the what it I remember we'll just kind of walk through step by step. I got slams and meetings before, so we're gonna do it together. In terms of, you know, if somebody really wants to go after like a huge week, anytime I've coached people to have 10, 15, $20,000 push periods or just that in a week, there's certain things that are important. It doesn't just like happen. Like, yes, you could get lucky, right? You might bump into someone and they're like, Morgan, I need 4 complete sets for presents for this, and I need to engrave 200 spatula spreaders. And you're like, oh, awesome, right? But like, you can't count on that, right? Like that could happen. But if you want to like definitely map out and you're like, I want to have a big week or I want to have a big push, like what does it take to do that? And so I've been working with some people who like haven't been where they wanted to be. And so I wanted to walk through this process. So number one is you have to have a detailed schedule, right? Like, do you have everything? And that's why I was doing that with you before. But do you know like what you need to do? Any family stuff happening? Just like block it off. But making sure that you have everything ready to go, the times that you're going to be offering for demos, the times you're going to be phoning, and having a call number commitment. I know that for myself, during a push, I always made a minimum of 25 calls every single morning, 5 calls before and after every demo, 100 calls on Thursday night, 150 calls on Sunday. Those were my commitments. And I wasn't stopping until I got that, right? And I'll tell you, every top performer, and when you guys see people in Austin and you talk to people, they do that for themselves. They set a standard, they commit to a number, and they go and get it done. Cool. The second thing is you have to make phone jams a priority, okay? And so these are especially your Thursday and Sunday, all right? And so those major phone jams, like you can't screw with them, you know, like, yeah, you could miss a lunch jam, you'll be okay. You can miss a 5 calls before and after, you'll be okay. But those major phone jams, Thursday and Sunday, like don't F with them, like protect those. Like for me, my manager was like, it's like Cutco karma. He's like, it's like Cutco religion, like do not work. It's like, you know, like working on a religious holiday. Do not do anything Thursday evening or Sunday. And so my friends knew I work Thursday nights. When are you off? 9 p.m. And sometimes I had already hit my goal for like my Friday, Saturday demos by like 7:30. Like I just need to book like 2 more and I was booked. And so I would show up at like my friend's house or in Clematis or wherever we were going out that night, you know, around 7:45 or 8. They're like, I thought you worked till 9. I'm like, I got out early, you know, and that was my goal, to work really hard to be able to get out early because I was already booked, right? But that time was always protected. My boyfriend knew I worked Thursday nights till 9. My best friends knew I worked Thursday nights till 9. My family knew I worked Thursday nights till 9. And they also knew that Sundays, I also worked from 5 to 9, you know? So those were like set times that everyone I knew that I loved, like knew that I worked those times. And so really treating those like sacred, because Thursdays are the best time to make sure your Friday, Saturday, you know, Sunday, your weekend goals are fully booked. And Sunday nights are the best night to make sure that your week is ready to rock. All right. So making sure that that's there. All right. The next thing is sharing goals. All right. On the phone, and not full goals. All right. And so I'd say sharing goals and more like planting seeds, right? Of like the contest you're on, what I'm working so hard, you know, our whole nation is competing for the next 2.5 weeks. And my goal is to complete 50 appointments by August 5th. And so the reason I'm calling now is that I actually haven't hit my goal for tomorrow. And I was curious if there was any chance that you could see me last minute at blank or blank time. All right. And so when you're sharing goals, what's the number of demos that you're looking to complete? Are they aware of that from the phone call? Because that's something that I talk about on the phone call. I talk about on the demo when I'm sharing my goals and talking about my demo goal for the push. I talk about that when I'm talking about the sponsorship, and I say, hey, my biggest goal is not that you buy everything, although I won't stop you. My biggest goal today is that you love me and you enjoy the presentation, that you want to introduce me to everyone you know. Cool. That's my biggest goal. And they're like, all right, cool. So just making sure, you know, we're planning that. And then, you know, at the end, when I go to ask for referrals, I'm like, hey, Miss Susie, like I told you, my goal is to complete 50 appointments by August 5th. or my goal is to do 20 appointments a week to hit my goal. And so actually remember the sponsorship? I'm like, yes, free way to help. Like, actually, can you finish filling out that last question real quick? And then I explain the sponsorship to you, and then you dive into your VIA. So, so do they know the number of demos to complete? And then are you using the phrase that pays, right? When you guys are asking for a time, always saying, hey, I know this is really last minute. But I actually haven't hit my goal for whichever day you haven't hit your goal for. This was something my manager taught me, and y'all, it helped me so much when I was doing, as a Cutco sales rep. I got really, really good at that, and I was always booked when I wanted to be booked, and so just making sure that that's happening. All right. How come I can't get a number 4 anymore? What do I do, y'all? You guys are in school. How do I get a number 4?
Yeah, you just hit enter again. You got
it. So cool. So detailed structure, making phone jams count, sharing goals. Like on the phone, are you already planning each for the number of demos? That it's a big competition, that we're in Super Bowl, because those things are going to help you once you it's just consistent with the demo, and they know it's going to help you complete your appointments at a higher ratio. Morgan, if they think they can see you whenever, whatever, but if they're like, I'm in a huge contest, I'm trying to get this done, we only have 2 weeks, there's more urgency. So they're least likely to reschedule on you, right? Because they help you hit that goal, or you only needed 2 more for tomorrow, and they helped you get halfway there. And so how you set it up does a lot psychologically to be able to set them up for success. Okay. So very, very important. Then when you start the presentation, again, you need to have excited. So rapport, when you guys are chit-chatting, all right, they need to want to adopt you. All right. That was my goal. My manager's can you chat with them, compliment, ask questions, acknowledge them for their time in a way that they're oh my God, I need to adopt you. They should be wanting to introduce you to their cousin, to their nephews, nieces, kids. So you guys can be best friends, or they want to, marry you into the family, whatever. But are you building great rapport? And then are you sharing, and not just sharing goals, are you enrolling, all right, your customers into your goals, that when you share your goals, they're oh my gosh, how can I help? How can I be a part of this, right? They're just so impressed, they're so inspired by how hard you're working, what you're excited about, the journey that you're on, and they're just so stoked to be a part of that process. So making sure as you guys are enrolling your customers, all right, I've taught many of you guys all this stuff, but making sure, are you giving those sales, and so I would say price, right? Money, seed plans, okay? And for thinking bigger of if you want to just write me a check for 10 grand, then I'll definitely hit my goal. And oh, just kidding, Miss Susie, I'm assuming you didn't put away a couple grand waiting for the knife pro to come by. But I do want to show you why so many people invest in Cutco, right? And sharing that, or when you talk about how, hey, this stuff is way too expensive for you to buy just to be nice, but I do want to show you why so many people buy Cutco, right? And so when you're tying them into your goals, are you doing the seed plans for them, and then are you doing the rec seed plans? All right, so money seed plans and then rec seed plans. And so the biggest rec seed plan is the seed plans are the amount of demos that you want to complete, right? As well as when you guys get to the sponsorship, are you actually showing them on the sponsorship saying, hey, this actually right here has nothing to do with sales. I'll tell you about this later, but my biggest goal today is not that you buy everything, although I won't stop you if you want. But my biggest goal is actually that you, like me, you enjoy the presentation, that you want to introduce me to everyone you know. Cool. That's my biggest goal. So are you doing that and saying, hey, I'll talk more about that later? And so you're not going over the next slide. You're not talking about this. You say, hey, I'll talk about that later. I'll let you know at the end how that works. And then, sharing the give back goal of, my goal is to raise $500 over the next 2 weeks, raise awareness as we're raising money for the solar panels for Haiti, right? And talking about that. So really important that we're doing that. So once we enroll and tie customers, like you have to have those seed plans because that really sets the stage. All right. And so then you go into the presentation. All right. You need to customize names and uses. All right. And apparently I can't spell. Customize names and uses to them. All right. So this is more advanced, but do you know who you're seeing? Are you seeing a Hispanic person? Are you seeing an islander? Do they cook a lot of curries? Are you asking them, oh, what do you guys do a lot of, like, what do you cook most, right? What are some of your favorite things to cook? That's a great question to ask when you go into names and uses. You're like, oh, what's a great, what's one of your favorite things to cook, right? And so actually before customizing that, are you mentioning, that we have 3 family sets, all right? And so are you mentioning Cutco makes 3 family sets, all right? Makes everything for the kitchen, right? So this is the kitchen plans. And then so planning the Cutco makes everything for the kitchen. And then that we have 3 family sets. And I'm going to start with the basic set first, all right? And so starting with basic set first, and now we're going to go through it. And you're going to customize names and uses to them, all right? And while you're doing that, all right, so you're going to start with the basic search, but add the complete set tools after each one. All right, if you've never seen this, I'll put the link here. But this is showing the complete set every time. So what does this mean? Anyone want to tell me what we're doing here? So we're going to start with the basic set first. So we're going to say, hey, the first tool in your set is your air knife, right? Do you guys ever prepare anything in the air, topping off strawberries, cutting bananas for cereal? My mom eats apples like she's Huck Finn, cutting peaches, avocados, taking the pit out. And do you ever do? And so making sure as you guys are customizing your names and uses, it's the do you ever cut, and then and actually the first thing is, sorry, the next tool in your basic set is, all right, and then you say the nickname of whichever tool, then you say do you ever cut, and you guys give uses, and your goal is to what? Anybody? All right, I gave you the answer. You're too slow. All right. So your goal is to get a yes, right? So do you guys ever cut this or ever peel potatoes or ever? And they're like, oh yeah, we do that. I'm like, awesome. I'm like, Morgan, that's what you'd use for da-da-da. You can also use it for X, Y, and Z, right? They need to connect with each tool if you guys are going to sell a set. And then you say, once you get a yes, you say, okay, awesome. Our complete set also comes with and then we add whichever one on the tools that they are, right? So on the pairing, you're going to talk about the complete also has a larger pairing. On the trimmer, you say the complete also makes a specialty knife called the boning for deboning and deskinning, and you mentioned that. Spatula is exactly the same. Turning forks exactly the same. Petite carver is exactly the same. When you guys talk about the heavy duty, you say the complete set. Our company actually makes 3 heavy duty knives. So you talk about the basic, the butcher, and you say our complete also has Big Papa cleaver for pounding and tenderizing, and it has a Hardy slicer for muscling. All right. If you guys want to have big sales, drop big orders, sell Cutco kitchens, sell complete sets, you have to plant these seeds. You have to tell them Cutco makes everything for the kitchen. We have 3 different. I'm going to start with our basic set first. You need it customized names and uses. The more it appeals to them. Oh, do you guys ever when you're making like cilantro, like chop up like onions or chop up when you're making salsa, chop up cilantro or pico de gallo, chop up onions, and they're like, oh, this is the best knife for that, the chef knife, right? And so depending on what they said they like to cook, we like to cook a lot of Mexican, or we like to cook a lot of this. Like, are you learning, are you studying so that what are some of the most common dishes, right, that they make, and you can talk about those with the names and uses. That's next level. Cool. And that helps you guys sell a lot more sets. A lot of the top people are able to sell so much because they know that information and they're able to connect at a different level with the customers. Okay. So just making sure that that's happening as you guys customize through the names and uses. All right. The next thing for a huge week is, are you making a wish list? All right. If everything were free, right? Are you making sure to do that? All right. And again, this is just a reminder of like, what are the things that go into going after and having a huge sales week. All right. And so I'm going to make, you know, Thane's dream kitchen. All right. And I'm going to write this down and, you know, so that as they see things that they like, I'm going to go ahead and put it on their wish list so we can talk about that, you know, at the end. And so I like to just do it on my notebook and show them like, oh, anything else you'd want to know prices on, so that as you're going through, you know, accessories, all right, wish lists. So I'll put here, make wish list, all right, as you review the accessories, all right. But making sure also, not only are you guys making that wish list as they go through accessories, but also during this time of the year when you guys make the wish list, all right. So this is stuff that they like, all right. But then also, guys, you can't forget, because this is where the huge orders come right now, is gifts, okay. Are you asking, hey, Miss Morgan, by the way, did you finish all your holiday shopping already? All right. What is almost everyone going to tell you when you say, did you finish all your holiday shopping already? Anybody? Am I going to talk to myself the whole time, or is anyone
They're
going
gonna
to
say
talk?
no.
Okay, no.
Lie.
So no way. All right. So, so this question of, have you finished all of your holiday shopping already? All right. And they're like, no. Okay. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so many great things happening with Christmas and July specials and stuff, right? So, so again, what do they like? And then, have you asked about gifts? Because those are things that can help take it over the top. Cool. Then, number 9, I'm going to say just close higher, right? So when you close higher, you're going to land higher. So whatever that is, right? So some of you guys have learned this, you know, if they're just doing the set, you know, we're showing them the triple close. So we're showing them the price for the complete, the signature, and the homemaker at once. If you don't know that, don't worry about it. Just know the higher you start, the higher you land, right? If you learn the Cutco kitchen, you guys just need to spend some time, and later tonight after the phone jam, you can practice that. You know, Sunday, if you want to work on that. You can practice Saturday morning, you know, we can practice that, and Spencer will be available to practice if you're like, I want to close on bigger orders, right? I know at first I was scared to. And so just not being scared to show the bigger things, not necessarily because they're going to buy them, but when you close and show bigger numbers, once you get to the homemaker, they're like, you know what, I just need that. I just want that one, you know? And so all of a sudden you just went from 7,000 to 5,000 to 3,000 to a homemaker's 1,549. That seems a lot less than you asking them about like if they want to redo their kitchen today, right? So just the higher you start, it doesn't matter. Like you're like, oh my God, I don't know anybody who's going to buy $7,000 or $10,000 of stuff. No, but you're going to sell a lot more 2 to 3K orders than you would have if you started with 2 to 3K and went lower from there. All right. So know that the average sales made on the 4th or 5th attempt. And so you want to make sure that you're able to flow through there to be able to drop down. All right. So drop down, drop down like catering to their set. All right. So for those who have learned this, how does this work? Can someone tell me? This is like a pop quiz. Anybody? Drop down catering to their needs. Anyone know what I'm talking about?
Basically, like finding out what they usually use in the regular.
Okay, so by the way, here's my process. This is Cathy's, and if you haven't watched, I have a video on Cathy's drop down, and you guys can check that out. If you go to YouTube, all right, and I'll post it in here because this is a very good thing that if you missed it during SC1, I taught this during SC1. Guys, there's so many videos you guys can go back to and just go to videos on Vector Gulf Coast division. If you go to videos, there's a bunch of stuff in here. There's how to sell flatware with Stacy. There's selling sets with LA. There's dropping down Cathy style, which I'm going to give you guys right now for anyone who hasn't seen this, because this is money. Spanish names and uses, selling sets with Dante, closing gifts with Kyle Rogers, Francisco's closing big tips, objection cycle with Spencer. But there's a lot of stuff. Having Miss Jones book your demos for you is one of my favorite things in the world. But there's a bunch of stuff here that can help you guys out should you choose to use it. All right. So I just went ahead and put that in the chat so that you have it if that's something that you want to check out. Okay. So back to here. And so that process is, show the family sets and then show the galley. And then if no, all right. So this is if no, you're showing the galley. If no, then what you're doing is asking if you were going to design your perfect set, what are the top 4 to 5 tools, all right, you feel you'd use the most? All right. So if you were going to design your perfect set, what are the 4 to 5 tools you free the most? All right. And you have to write them down, because now as I go through, so someone tell me real quick. So Morgan, Dior, someone tell me if you were going to make your perfect set. And again, you always want to show them, the actual tools. You want to pop that up on your interactive demo. All right. But I'm just going to put here just to pull something up. All right. So if you were going to make your perfect set, all right, and so you pull out so that they can see the tools, what are the 4 or 5 tools you feel like you'd use the most?
Pairing,
Like,
Go ahead. Pairing.
spatula spreader, the trimmer,
Okay.
chef knife. How many am I at? Do I need one more?
You're at 4. So pairing, spatula, trimmer, chef knife,
Yeah, and the bread slicer.
and the slicer. Okay. All right, cool. Perfect. Well, hey, Miss Morgan, we can definitely, I'll get prices for you because we can definitely customize a set exactly how you want it. We do have some pre-made sets that are a way better deal. They're actually discounted. They come with a storage option and they have like free stuff. Is it cool if I show you those real quick? Because you might see something you like, and if not, we'll 100% go get prices and customize your set. Is that cool? And they're like, sure. And so now I'm going to go through and actually show them the sets. And again, this is on my interactive demo, but I'm just going to go using this right here. So I'm like, all right. So Miss Susie, the first tool in your set, right, which would be the essentials. I'm like, this one has the air knife that you really liked. It has the spatula that you really liked. It has the petite carver. So it doesn't have the trimmer, but it has the petite carver, which is a larger utility. It does have the chef that you liked, and it has a turning fork you can use together with the carver as like an everyday carving set. It comes with 5 table knives or without. If you got this, you could get the bread slicer or the scissors for free. Cool. The next set is the studio. This one has the air knife you really liked, the spatula you really liked. It has the trimmer you really liked, and it has the larger petite carver. It doesn't have the chef or the slicer. You could pick one of those 2 as your free gift, okay? The next set that's really nice is the all knife set. This one comes with the air knife you really liked, the spatula you really liked, the trimmer that you really liked, the chef knife that you really liked, and it's not the slicer, but it's the long carver. So it's probably the closest to the 5 tools you pick, Morgan. It comes in a tray, it comes with the cutting board, it comes with the sharpener, and it comes with additional free stuff. That's a really nice one. You've got the space saver. It has 2 different size air knives. It has the trimmer you liked, the large utility, the chef that you liked. It doesn't have the spatula or the bread, but you could pick one of those for free. And then lastly, you have the kitchenette, which has the pairing, the air knife you like, the small utility you liked, the spatula, the larger utility. It has the slicer that you liked, but it doesn't have the chef or the spatula. And honestly, Miss Morgan, those are 2 like knives that are used so much, I would probably recommend one of the other ones. But just now that you've seen all those, which one do you feel would fit your family the best? The essential set with the 5 table knives or without, the studio set, the all knife set, the space saver set, or the kitchenette?
I like the essentials, and then I can just add.
Okay, cool. So with that one, yeah, you could do the slicer or the scissors for free. Which would you prefer with that?
Definitely the slicer.
Okay, cool. And we go from there. Beautiful. All right. But that is how you, so again, you can watch the video to go through and really get this down, but like you pick their 4 to 5 tools, they're going to use the most, you write them down. Then you show starter sets. All right. And what did I do? Someone?
You compared them to what they would normally use. You asked, from the wish list, what's already in the sets, and then showed them which ones were there.
So show starter sets, pointing out all the things they like that are in there. All right. And offer missing for free. All right. But also, did you see how I said, I don't know if this is the best set for you because it's missing 2 of the ones you're going to use the most. Like you're actually like giving your opinion. And if they like you and they trust you and you build good rapport, they actually listen to those opinions. So they don't feel like you're just trying to sell them the biggest set you can. They actually feel like you're trying to help them find the set that's best for them. Everyone with me? And if you guys do that properly, you're going to drop down a lot quicker, a lot more efficient, a lot more effectively. It really makes a big difference. Okay. So just making sure we're dropping down, catering to their needs. All right. And then this is upserve, like this is when you're done. Once you find their comfort zone. All right. Just making sure, are you calling manager for bundles and packages? All right. And making sure that you guys are presenting those bundles and packages and making sure they know their best value. All right. So do they know their best value? And if you guys do that, I would say that at least half of my customers end up going with the better value, the larger set, but just, are you showing them that? Okay. And then are you rocking the VIA rec approach? All right. And so now we go into the rec. So first is, are you rocking the actual approach? So are you saying it how it's supposed to be said, word for word? Are you explaining the sponsorship? And so again, this is the VIA recommendation approach. We have it in English, we have it in Spanish, but just at the end, make them feel like a rock star. Are you filling out the stuff so they have that visual? And so then you're like, hey, so do you remember the $150 sponsorship? And you're actually like, did you pull up your slideshow so that they're seeing that, right? And going through that. And so that's where I go back to here and I go, all right, awesome, Miss Susie. Thank you so much for helping me out towards my goal today. I'm like, what's your favorite color? I'm like, all right, pink, boom, done. Oh, I didn't even color it. What did I do? Oh, over here. So I did an outline fill. There we go, guys. The fill one right there. So, all right, Miss Susie. So boom, you helped me get one step closer. Thank you so much. And if they purchase, you just move this up a little bit and you're like, boom. Like, well, I'm so excited for you. I'm like, you are going to love your Cutco. I'm like, but seriously, thank you so much for taking time out for me. Like I told you, if I complete my 60 appointments by August 5th, I will hit my goal. I'm like, and then do you remember that sponsorship that I was telling you about earlier? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, awesome. I'm like, well, here's where you can really help me out. I get, and then we dive into the approach. All right. And so you're like, I get paid every time I show Cutco and I can only show people I've been personally recommended to. I'm really trying to keep it. And you literally read this. And if you don't, you want to get really comfortable with this, because if you guys are doing it like this, you will maximize your recs if you did all the other stuff we said before. Are you explaining the sponsorship properly? So you're like, hey, here's how the sponsorship works. Every 50 sponsors I get, the company gives me $150, worth of Cutco that I can use to pay for books. And we go through that. And so this process, when you rock the VIA approach, this is a process. Number one is you ask for the recs. All right. Then that ends right here where it says check off as many as you can before you click the share button, because I have a way you can earn some free Cutco Take as much time as you need on this because it's the most important part of the meeting and I don't mind waiting. I have to fill out my forms anyway. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. That is part one. All right. Ask for the recs and then be quiet. Okay. And go do whatever you need to do. Then after they say done, all right, which you told them, tell them when you're done before you press submit so I can tell you about free stuff, then you're going to brainstorm. All right. And then I'll add the third one. So they finish it. Oh, I'm done. And you're like, okay, great, Miss Jones. Thank you so much. Like before you click the share button, can you tell me how many it says you selected in the blue box? I'm like, okay, awesome. I'm like, I'm actually only 3 away from another sponsor. I'm like, do you think there's any way you could think of 3 more nice moms? And I always say that, I'm just going to add that here. 3 more nice moms to check off who might be willing to see me. And then I say, Miss Susie, actually, I didn't show you this before, but one of my goals is to actually sell in all 50 states. Okay. So currently I've sold, and you should mark the states you've sold in. Maybe it's just Texas. Be like, right now I'm in Texas. But one of my goals by the end of the year is to sell in all 50 states. I'm like, do you have any best friends or cousins, family members, people that live outside of the state or even outside of Houston, right? That I might be able to do an appointment with. I'm like, and who do you know that knows everybody? And who do you know that's super nice? And who do you know that like loves to cook? Who do you know, Miss Susie, that has expensive taste, entertains a lot? I love seeing people that love to throw parties. Who do you know that loves to shop? Who do you know that just redid their kitchen or is like looking to redo their kitchen, right? Who do you know that gives the most to charity? Who do you know that owns a luxury car or owns their own business or loves to ski or owns a boat? Do you know anyone that's in a country club, right? Who do you know that's like super athletic, super competitive? Who do you know that owns the best house or would get a set for a beach house? Who do you know that just bought a new house? Who do you know that enjoys fine dining or is a great networker? Who do you know with the nicest kitchen or loves to travel, loves to throw pool parties? Who do you know loves to invest? Anyone you know that sends their kids to private school or just won't settle for anything but the best, right? Who do you know that owns multiple homes, kids play sports, or maybe they're a leader of like a religious institution, right? Miss Susie, do you know anyone that like enters polo tournaments, owns an armored vehicle, owns a ranch? Who do you know that owns a tennis court in their backyard? Who do you know that never buys items on sale, owns a yacht, loves to sail or horseback ride? Who do you know with a private jet, has a maid or a butler, doorman, pool boy? You could skip that if you want, but that was Donovan, always wanted those. Who do you know that has a Range Rover, money's not an obstacle, or they just buy really nice gifts? I love to meet any of those too, right? And then Miss Susie, I have one last question. Who do you know that won't buy, but they're super sweet and they might be willing, they're a super nice mom in a house and they might be willing to help me. So I don't care if they're going to buy or not, but if they're a nice mom, I would love to meet them. All right. And so that is the process. I literally just did it for the first time. I've never done it exactly how I do it for the customer. I always start reading it and I say, hey, keep reading that. It's the best 5 minutes. But like what I just did is exactly how I do it with a customer. Cool. Like walking through that sheet. So it does not take very long. And it's just keeping them brainstorming, but you'll typically get at least 5 to 7 more people when you do that. And sometimes it's 20, 30, or 40 more because they go, oh, hold on, I got the church directory here somewhere, or, or they might have access to some like online community and you're like, oh, heck yeah. Right. So ask for the recs normal. After they say done, brainstorm. All right. And so this is where you're going to go through the 50 states and thought jogger sheet. By the way, you don't have to use that thought jogger sheet. That's Donovan Taylor's. You can make your own, but having some kind of thought joggers to ask for the people that you want to meet. And then lastly, all right, last question is, now, who do you know that won't buy? All right. So I'm like, Miss Susie, who do you know? I know it's not a real word, but that won't buy, but they're a super nice mom like you and live in a house. All right. And so I'm like, any nice moms in a house, I would love to meet them. All right. So just making sure that are you going through that process properly? Because that does make a big difference with the amount of referrals you get, okay? And then, so get them to those next sponsorships. You know, are you offering, I'm going to put here, offer free stuff, all right, to get more, all right? But just make sure you guys are wringing the rag on your recs, all right? And then guys, with this, all right, if you guys are really doing this the right way, now can we have customers help get more, have customers help you get more demos, all right? And so this is something that a lot of people don't do this part. So are you qualifying, all right? So if you were me, who are the top 3 to 5 you would see first, all right? And so are you asking that? Finding out who are the top people, all right? Are you having them shoot a heads up text, at least to those 3 to 5, if not to everybody, all right? But are they doing the heads up text for you? Are you getting a Facebook post? All right, these are all important aspects. I spent as much time on the referral portion as I did on the demo portion. You know, like my rapport was probably 15, 20 minutes. My demo took 25 to 30 minutes. My recs took 25 to 30 minutes, like to do everything. But I got so many more people all the time, and I had so many more appointments booked ahead of me because they did it for me. All right. And so are they putting a Facebook post? All right, so add them, like friend them. All right, so you guys are friend them, and then make sure you comment on their post. All right, and do you guys have a sample post for them to put up? So making sure you guys do that, and then are you asking them to call their top people? All right, heads up text or call top 3 to 5. Should just put it up there. But top 3 to 5. And then I use that, you know, just the coaching sheet, letting them know what to say and what not to say. And so actually this is something I didn't do before, that we showed it before, but I probably should have just put this at like the bottom of like one of the slides so you could pull it up on a slideshow. So I'm going to do that. Let me see if this little thing in the bottom is going to go away. Go away. No, it doesn't want to go away. All right. But this is the, let me just download this. All right. Let me reshare to here because you guys can screenshot if you want, but this right here of just like when they call their top 3 to 5 people, do you have something? And you guys can just like literally put this on a slide. You can type it up, you can make your own, but it just like shows you what to do here so that you guys can maximize, you know, those calls. Because if not, they'll call their friend and be like, hey, did you need knives? And you're like, meh. And they're like, nope, I'm good. You know, and you lost that sale, right? Versus like when they actually use the coaching sheet, I walk them through really quick what to say, what not to say, so that I can maximize the amount of people. That made a really big difference in the results, you know, that I had. And so fill this in so that at the end, you could pull this up and say, Miss Susie, here's what to say, you know, and again, put in your name, put in where you're studying, put in all that, but just say, I'm here with a nice student named Cathy. She's studying international business at Palm Beach Atlantic. She's working hard towards a scholarship by showing Cutco, and she can even earn college credit. She gets paid just to show it, so there's no obligation to buy. Would you be willing to help her out? And I actually always had willing like highlighted, you know, which I wonder if we insert, I wonder if we did a shape and we did a shape like this, I wonder if it just covers it or if you can see through it. Oh no, I'd have to check with the opacity to make it lighter, but this right here, and I mean, you could just like underline, put a line here and put it nice and dark, but just making sure they know, like, you know, I'm just, would you be willing to help out? All right, you guys can play with this, get a thicker line, do whatever. There's a lot of stuff, line weight, there we go. But showing them what it is, like what to say on the phone, what not to say, that way they don't mess it up. And it just says what not to say. She's selling knives. Do you need any new knives? I'm like, don't talk about prices. And then again, I'm like, I'm just looking to do appointments with really nice people. All right. So you guys can play with this. All right. And, you know, do whatever here, but just, are you emphasizing those things for your customers so that they know like what it is that you're looking to do and that they don't mess it up when they call people for you. All right. They actually can help you get more appointments. All right. So that is something that I would say I would add on there. And I'm going to post this again, just in case anybody needs to view it, anybody wants to edit anything on it, or has any questions. But if we walk through, so again, to recap through and see if I missed anything as we went through here. And this is the stuff that, again, when I've coached top push performers, people that really want to kick butt, it's one, do you have a detailed schedule? Do you know all the times you're offering? Do you have the times you're phoning and a call number commitment? Do you make the major phone jams a priority? The exception would be like, if you're like, Eric is leaving town this weekend, right? And he'll be gone 4 or 5 days. So like I said, tonight, he wanted to work on I gave him other things to do this evening. So I was like, well, you're going to be out. And so we did his 3 demos today, and he's out tomorrow, and he's gone, you know, starting Saturday. And so the exception is like, if you're out of town for the weekend, then you don't need Thursday night, right? Or if you know you're leaving town on Monday on a cruise for the week, well, then you don't need a Sunday night phone jam because you're going to be gone all week, right? And so those would be the exceptions. But just making sure those major phone jams on Thursday and Sunday are a priority, because again, Thursday sets up your weekend, Sunday sets up your week. Are you sharing goals and planting seeds on the phone? Do they know the number of demos you're looking to complete? Are you using that phrase that pays so that you, you know, you actually are booking up your appointments when you need or want them? Then rapport. Are you connecting? You know, they're like, they just really like you when you're chit-chatting. I was like, oh, how was your summer so far? What are you guys up to? And you're just chatting. Then when you share your goals, are you enrolling them? Are you giving money seed plans? All right. And those are like not cheap investment, right? And so this is an investment, not cheap, etc. All right. But just like making sure you're planting seeds. And if you haven't seen the 7 steps to a demo, I would definitely recommend walking through that. And I do have a document that if you don't have it and you want to refresh on it, 7 steps to a sale. And this walks through, and this actually has the seed plans, right? It shows you how to build rapport. It shows you the seed plans that you can give right here in that help with prices, all right? As well as start planting seeds for recos. You have the, you know, prices, like, again, saying everything's guaranteed forever. So obviously it costs more. As you can see, it's super high quality. So definitely it's not cheap. Like all these things are in there in terms of having those seed plans. All right. And I'm actually I'm gonna hyperlink all this stuff for you guys. Thanks for being here while I made this document together with y'all. So this right here, I'm just gonna put it here, but are you making sure to do those seed plans when you're going through? Because there's just those little things do make a big difference in terms of the results that you guys have. Okay. And then are you giving the rec seed plant, which the rec seed plant, I'll just grab it from the slideshow, but it's right here. When you guys go to the sponsorship, I wrote it on the bottom. So we'll just grab this right here and we'll pull it over so that you guys have it. But the rec seed plant, the major one, I mean, there's different ones, but the major one is, you know, letting them know this is a big way to support your business, but that your biggest goal, all right. So my biggest goal today is not that you buy everything. And I always say, but I won't stop you. But that you like me enough to introduce me to everyone you know. I'll tell you how you can become a sponsor later. All right. So just, you know, is that happening? Then talking about how Cutco makes everything for the kitchen, right? That's all in the seed plans. Like this is the 7 steps to a sale. This is a really, really big one. that does, that has so much of this in there, okay? But again, when you guys go to the transition, it's like Cutco makes everything for the kitchen. We have your sets, cookware, flatware, kitchen, outdoor accessories, as well as military grade hunting and fishing knives. I'm going to start with the knife sets first because that's usually people's first investment. And then I'll show you everything else real quick, because if you do see stuff you might want later for you or for gifts, there's great deals on bundles and packages. And you guys can also mention it now with Christmas in July, the best deals are happening for the next 2 weeks. All right. And then I talk about how we have the 3 family sets. All right. So again, it's all in there. So you guys can look at that. All right. And then are you customizing the names and uses towards the person? That is, again, next level, but making sure always the next tool in your basic set is, and then you give the next name, and then you're like, hey, do you ever cut? And the goal is to get a yes on each tool, and then, okay, awesome. Our complete set also comes with, and just adding the extra one. So just showing the complete set, and adding tools from complete set every time. All right. So are you showing the complete set every time? That makes a big difference in you having a chance to sell more of the bigger sets. All right. Again, make a wish list. If everything were free, as you go through, so-and-so's dream kitchen, what do they like? And then gifts, clothes hire, land hire. And there's a lot of stuff with that. Drop down, catering to their needs. That's my flow. And I'll add the videos on here that you guys can watch specifically on these things. Upserve, once you find their comfort zone, call the manager for bundles and packages. And then rocking VIA rec approach, do that properly. But then are you having them help you get more by doing, getting, the top 3 to 5, calling them, and then doing the Facebook post. Make sure you guys friend them and comment on there. Okay. So I want to come up for air. I know I just talked.